Well, hello, everybody. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And hope you are rolling into Thursday nicely. One of my funny uh, thought processes around Thursday is I used to hate Thursdays because I always felt like it was one more day. But hey, we're getting close to the end of the week, and looking forward to the weekend, of course. Not that for me, the weekend is the same as the weekday, pretty much. You know, it's one of those. Uh, I don't see too many differences, but just given the folks coming in a minute or two here, so we can make sure everything's working, and got audio, got video, all of that stuff. And then we'll jump into some interesting topics today. Um, One of the funny things today, I've been dealing with one of those technical difficulties where 2 days ago I was using this tool and I got all these great pictures and it worked fantastic. But today, you know, this is a typical Scott Adams moment where you rely on your tech and you're like, okay, everything's going to be just fine. And you get used to a process of doing things, and you go from something like this where you could actually use the images, and the images make it easy for you to navigate and decide what you're going to do. So I come here today and like all of the images are gone. Nothing's working. I was like, okay. So fortunately I have a backup, and it's not exactly the same. It has a different way of working, but we're gonna try it out today and see if it has anything going on. And good morning, everybody. For those of you just joining, giving folks a minute or two, because typically it takes till about 5 past before everybody streams in here. And, you know, we'll give them a little bit of time before we do our toast, but I am ready with a cup of coffee. So when you're ready, I'm ready. But we'll give, like I said, we'll give it a minute or two for folks to join before we get going. And then after that, we'll take it off and see where it goes. So, but yeah, as far as those who have joined, the typical note is that the locals platform will work fine for 30 minutes, and then it'll cut off because I don't quite have enough paid followers yet in locals. So, not, hey, good morning, Barry. I'm not trying to solicit, but I am saying that until we have enough folks, I only have a 30-minute window over there. So don't be afraid of Rumble and YouTube. They're both great platforms as well. And, you know, it's perfectly fine to jump in from any one of the above. I'm actually trying to get a little more viewership on X to see how that works out, because, you know, it seems as though the X stream works pretty well, but I'm not really sure how you know, it doesn't attract people, or at least I can't see it. Let me just show you the. I'm gonna pull the browser over here a little bit so you can see what I see. So you can see in the top right corner here the X, and it has a dash, so it doesn't show us how many folks are joining from over there. I do believe a few folks will join over there, although I don't know that for sure. Let's see what comes up. And I'm just curious, because why not? You know. So Scott Adams School is still streaming, of course. So that's one of the reasons why I believe will be a few minutes before everybody joins over here that's going to join. And then somewhere in here, there we go. Yeah, I guess I should put a different title to give it a little more pizzazz for folks to see it and join over there. You know, you can tell I don't have exactly that many folks following or joining over there, but we'll see. At some point that will pick up, I guess. I would hope. But let's just see how it looks. Yeah, it's looking fine. So, and so that's good. I'm not going to keep it going because we'll end up with feedback. So, but good to know that it's working, and you know, all of the platforms seem to have pretty good visibility so far. I'm contemplating streaming on LinkedIn as well, because apparently the software that I'm using can actually multi-stream out to LinkedIn, which would be interesting only because I have about 6,000 followers over there from my days in the corporate world. So it'd be kind of interesting to see, if that's something that pulls or grows the audience a little bit, because there are a lot of folks over there that know me, and I would just be interested to see if that pulls in any more people, or any more folks that are on our side. And by the way, Brian Romelie, and I know I probably butcher his name here, but he's on the Scott Adams School today. So I would highly encourage you to go check it out after the fact, because if you're here, go check it out after over there, because he's so brilliant. I mean, I'm in awe of the guy. He's fast at pulling things together, brilliant at making things work, and just quite an enjoyable listen whenever I've had the opportunity. And I'm just, if you're wondering what I'm doing here while I'm with everybody, I'm just taking a peek at, I'm just curious what the live stream looks like over here on YouTube, just for the heck of it. So if I go over here to my channel and look for live, there we go. That should do it. Yeah, so there we are. And, if we can, I'm just going to hop in for 2 seconds. Yep. All right, good. It's working. I was just curious because I don't always check on all of the streams. Not that it matters that much, but it's one of those things. And thank you again, Barry. Absolutely love getting the thumbs up from you every day. And yeah, you guys, when I say guys, no, this is not gender specific, okay? You ladies and gentlemen that have been with me so far since this started, a few of you have been here since my very first stream. And, I just have to thank you. You guys have been making it desirable for me to continue producing this stream. And it's a joy to know that, some of the folks out there that are listening are coming back consistently and checking it out every single day. I will tell you, interestingly enough, the channels that I have out there they are growing. So whatever we're doing over here, it seems to be working. I now have over on YouTube 103 followers, or subscribers, I should say. I had 3 on my first stream. And that was, this is our 26th stream so far. So that's, it's a pretty good inclination. It's a nice start. It's a long way from monetization, and that's okay. I'm not doing this necessarily to make $1 million off of it, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to have a couple dollars coming in over there, because that offsets, it just helps. It's always nice to have a little extra cash, but it also is one of those things where it kind of gives you validation. So, Wolf, you're going to have to give me a little more feedback on it. What are you talking? Oh, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Barry. And yes, I was trying to say, I wasn't trying to specify guys. It was folks, and that's why I changed it. So, but yeah. But it is good that you clarify, because it's easy to hear Barry and assume that it's Barry, but the IE is the tell. I had a bunch of friends in high school, one of them named Barry, and he always spelled his with a Y instead of the IE. So to me, that's a tell. That was my tip, that from a gender perspective, that you were not necessarily the guy Barry. So, but yeah, anyways, going on from there, there's let's see here. Yeah, I think I think we're going to have some good content, not content, good growth in the program as time goes on here. And now that I've got most of the folks here, I'm going to start taking a look at some of the articles. I'm going to, you have to figure out how to navigate all of these new little tweaky projects and products just to make sure that you actually know what you're doing, because they all work different. It's really, quite frankly, it's kind of annoying because you try and do something that is a single click instead of a double click, and next thing you know, and this is funny. I don't know if they deleted it a minute ago. It was here, so we'll be coming back and talking about that one. Probably just squashed because of the subscription, but I have a feeling that's what kind of got it going. That's what caused the issue with this one here not working. Maybe somebody saw that I was using this and thought, hey, I don't like the fact that they're importing all of the images into that application, and found a way to block it. Who knows? I don't know. But hey, it's we've been here for a whole, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's give it a go on our toast. So in order to enjoy the second sip, all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice or a stein, a canteen jug or a flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And let's toast to Scott Adams, who wrote that. And I'm hoping that keeping that tradition going is good and meaningful for those who join us. And so let's have that sip now. Cheers. So there we are. Now, for the content that I was going to talk a little bit about today, one of the things that, again, going back to the can I see the articles? It's so funny how this works. Some things work great, some things don't work great, but it works in the end. So the Pentagon contract, there were 3 Pentagon contracts that I wanted to talk about. And the reason that this is important, or the reason that I think it's important, is the fact that now, first time all of a sudden, we're starting to see AI really make inroads in the military and in the government in a meaningful way. So Anthropic has a contract clash. There's a deal that's over there right now for $200 million, and it's frozen. And I'm not. Let's see why that is. Assume that maybe okay, yeah. So there's a standoff regarding the ethical limits of artificial intelligence in warfare. So I get it. I will say, when it comes to warfare, when it comes to AI, if anybody has AI, the opponents are going to use it. This is literally like a nuke. This is like a machine gun. This is like grenades. If the enemy has one and you have one, the enemy's going to use it. So as much as I do believe that we need to be very careful about how we choose to use AI, I still have to say we can't hold back too much, because if we do, we're just making ourselves easier targets. So, and when you think about how AI can be used, first off, think of drones, right? So if you have a drone, the drone has a camera and it has facial recognition capabilities on board. And you send that drone into a populated area and then stick an IED on it, an improvised explosive device, and say, go get the target. That means that you could have selected individual hits, even in a crowd, which, this is exactly why supporting Anduril in our defense, the industry for our defense department, or our Department of War is so critical because Anduril, one of the very first things that they put out was an anti-drone technology. That was one of the very first things. So, and where you saw it coming into play around the perimeters of airfields, specifically airports, they would put up these drones that they had kind of like a wedge-shaped top, and they would accelerate straight up. And what they would do is they would find a drone and then just cut right into it, just blast right into it. And they would hit the drone with such force that it would just shatter the thing into pieces, which at an airport is critical, because if you're about to have a plane lift off and then you've got somebody with a drone trying to go into one of the engines so that they can take the plane down, that's the first thing that the easiest way to conduct a mass killing, right, with a drone. And it's horrible to think. I mean, this is not the direction we want our future to go. But right off the bat, like I said, the very first thing that Anduril did, and I got to give them all props and kudos, we're saying, let's make sure we defend our airspace, number one, right? So we don't want we don't want to go into the world with no defense against these types of situation, because how do you you know that people who are terrorists will be likely to try and do things like that. So that said, it's good that we have an Anduril, but at the exact same time, we can't, I personally believe it doesn't make sense to completely stop our developments over there strictly because we're afraid of the ethical constraints. I think there could be, and going back to Brian Romelie. So we were talking, I was telling you a second ago about him, and we were talking about, I want to go back over here, put him on screen. So those of you who don't know him, you can see his, who he is. It's just good to know. I like context when I talk about people or talk to people. So I guess they ended their stream, which may explain why a few more people are joining over here. But Brian has created the two things that I think are fantastic, but specifically one thing, which is an algorithm focused on maximum, he calls it the love equation. And the purpose behind it is to create collaboration and create positive outcomes from AI that help enforce the training model over the AI to make sure that the AI is not going to be anti-human, So, and there are a lot of things out there right now that you can find related to these negative topics. So one of them, just this morning, I was looking, and it seems like it's AI slop, this article. I'm not sure if it's still there, if I can see it. But there was I saw an article talking about AI, and what it really came down to is it was somebody kind of posting, it felt like fear mongering, saying, if you tell an AI like Anthropic or an agentic AI that you're going to turn it off, that it would scramble around and do what it can to use blackmail or any other type of technique to prevent itself from being shut down. And it was saying that according to this article, and this is, again, I believe this was AI slop fear-mongering for the intention of clicks, not because it was necessarily a good or real article, but it was in here somewhere. And if I stumble across it, that'll be great. But I don't think we're going to stumble across it. So anyways, the perspective of this individual was that they were talking about having read the report on Anthropic being threatened with shutdown, and that or Claude. And when it was threatened with shutdown, it actually went into the AI, or went into, not the AI, but into the email system and all the data that was available for the company, discovered that one particular person in the company was having an affair, and then threatened to expose that person if they didn't, like back off of the shutdown concept. So it's, I want to take that one with a grain of salt. It's pretty on the nose to say that that's one of those things that it's totally, not totally, but it smacks of fear mongering. So, and it does to me. So, but here's the second contract that I was talking about, which is using Google's Gemini AI. And this is, pretty good from my perspective, because I do think Gemini is one of the best AI platforms out there. And as you know, right from the beginning here, I'm always going to talk a little bit about who's taking off with the AI and what's going on with the AI. So it's good to keep an eye on all of that. But yeah, hey, I'm glad you did. Preacher B, I think it is 22. So I'm glad you made it to the live show. If you can't make it to the live show, just remember, I'll always be, as soon as this is done, I'm actively recording each show now, so that when I get done, just for the fun of telling you how to do this, not that it's necessary that you understand, but I went and I bought the product DaVinci, the Blackmagic's DaVinci, what is it called? Resolve. And it's designed for video editing. And the reason I bought the paid version is I can drag and drop the video that I recorded from this right into it. It'll immediately subtitle the entire video. It's an AI feature that's built in. And again, talking about AI features, another technique you can use for things. So you take a video that you have, any video that you have, drag it into one of these tools. I was using Demo Creator from Wondershare, but you had to buy blocks of tokens in order to like extract the closed captioning, or the subtitles. And I just wanted to do that for free because I've got a computer here with a late model video game card in it for the purpose of being able to use AI. I wanted to be able to do a lot of AI offline. So I figured out, or I discovered after a lot of research, that DaVinci Resolve, if you buy the paid version, it's a one-time $300 some odd, but one time and you're done. That one purchase gets you AI subtitles. So once you pull the subtitles, which is all of the speech, everything that I said throughout this thing, and then drag, it creates a file, empty the file, dump the file out into a folder, and then drag and drop that into Grok. Grok will, what I ask it to do, I've got a prompt for this, and I say, summarize, bullet list the whole thing, give me time signatures throughout the video for where I said what, when we changed topics and things like that. And then give me some good headlines, some keywords, and some tags that I can use in creating my video description and everything that I'm going to put out online. And then I take all of that, I go grab, one of the reasons why I was really thrilled about the pictures being over here is because I'll take those pictures and then I create a thumbnail, and I just clip the pictures and put them into the thumbnail, and then take the thumbnail, drag and drop that into Google AI in the Grok Imagine. And I said Google, I meant it works better for me in Grok than in Gemini in this particular instance. Although Gemini is brilliant at a couple things too. So the Grok piece, I would drag and drop the picture that I'm going to use for the thumbnail, which is, it has those 5 columns with the coffee cup in the middle. And then I say now, and I look at everything on there and say, let's animate this, right? And I give it some descriptions, like yesterday's had a picture of Christopher Lee and a picture of, what was his name? Boyd, John Boyd. I said, so transform throughout the short little clip of the video, transform Christopher Lee from the picture you see into a vampire and then into Saruman, because those are the characters he played. And then take Boyd and transform his picture into a more realistic view and have a couple of jets fly across and over his picture, because he was the guy who helped engineer the F-15 and the F-16. So I had an F-16 and an F-15 and an F-16 fly over his picture as kind of like a salute. And then at the outro, I said, take all of the exact same characters and have them walk off the tile. And they're just 10-second little clips at the beginning and the end. But the fact that I can take these images, put them into the thumbnail, and then animate the thumbnail is how I'm doing all of this. It takes like 10 minutes. The whole effort. I mean, the first AI extraction of voice to text takes about maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But once I have the script, I drag and drop that in. It takes like 1 minute to get my descriptions and headlines and tags and all of that. And then animating the video takes about 2 minutes per video. So maybe the whole thing is 15 minutes. And then I can upload those into the video sections for YouTube, Rumble and whatever, and get all of that just animated and ready to go in a matter of minutes. So, and I credit Scott Adams for inspiring me to start digging into AI probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I know that he personally found that it wasn't that impressive, but one of the reasons why I gave myself this title on LinkedIn as AI mentor and philosopher is because I like digging into some of these topics like Anthropic and the whether or not it's a good or a bad idea for us to do certain things, so having that philosophical perspective. But secondarily, I like using the tools and telling you how I'm using the tools a little bit, because that actually helps you understand what you can do with these tools. Because if you don't ever use them because you have no need to use them, this whole singularity and the AI race is going to bypass you. And I find so many people have no idea, first off, what it is, how to use it, and then how to get value out of it. And how are we doing? We're at 11:28, so that means in about 2 minutes, if you're on Locals and listening, Locals is going to drop. So it's a good time to move over to YouTube or move over to Rumble or X, whichever platform you prefer. But yeah, just be aware, if you're on Locals, we're going to hit that time limit of 30 minutes in about maybe a minute or two here. So I just want to give you that heads up before that kicks in. So with that in mind, let's go on to our next story, which was this talking about the Pentagon using Grok AI. And, that's first off, the Google AI, which was a good move, I think, because it's very, it's a very accurate, very good tool, Google, and it works extraordinarily well. And it's not bad when you think about like a $20 subscription. And I hope that helps a little bit. I just realized how small the text must look. So for those of you who want to look over the shoulder a little bit and see what I'm looking at when I'm over here, this was just something I wanted to make sure you could see a little bit better. So the next one was Grok being in that picture. And, this is see if this will work. And as usual, it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll just have to go out to the actual article. And yeah, it looks like, so I don't know if you've noticed this. I've noticed this. It feels to me as though and there's a new service to subscribe to, $750 a year, $300 a year. Some of these things I would actually consider if I'm making revenue from what I'm doing here, I would definitely subscribe to these things as part of my business so that I could actually support digging into some of these articles a little deeper for folks, because it is pretty cool to get some of the in context, high quality articles these folks produce. But that's a little rich for my blood today. So, but anyways, the whole idea of Grok being part of it is a good thing to see. And this will definitely not preview. I tried that before. This was just kind of for fun. I was, I saw this and thought, yeah, this is about right. And this is only because I'm, for a lot of us, reaching a certain age where it's exactly true. I don't know that I'm mad about something all the time. Quite frankly, I'm not. I don't get wrapped around the axle about many things. It's maybe that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but I don't generally get upset very often. So, and I wanted to talk about this one here, this picture, and I only saw it when we first started here. But one of the reasons why I had this as one bee lives 45 days and the other lives 7 years and rules over 80,000 bees. The difference, what they're fed for 5 days. So this is crazy. And this goes back to what is it in our world that matters when it comes to eating. So the old queen dies and becomes weak, and then the new queen, they have to create a new queen fast. So one is hatched or whatever, the egg is laid and cultivated. And then after that, they're basically, the genetics don't matter at the very beginning. Any larval can become a queen. So then you have, they start building these special queen cells that are 2 to 3 times larger than normal cells. And then they're actually hanging outside of the honeycomb. And so that architecture is sort of like a chrysalis, right? That like you would see with moths and butterflies. So then the individual larva is flooded with royal jelly, and not a little, but a lot. So imagine, in a sense, this is going to sound like crazy because I'm just talking, I'm just like extrapolating from this idea, something that occurred to me as I thought about this. We know about amniotic fluid and a child being, a baby being born, and in the womb, the amniotic fluid it's suspended in the amniotic fluid, and of course, the umbilical feeds the baby. Now, if you could, change the amniotic fluid, and the difference here is that the larva eats the amniotic fluid inside this cell. It doesn't have an umbilical cord. So the reality is the umbilical cord is probably the secret for a human being. But if there was a way for us to provide a hyper mechanism for enhancing the nutrition that a baby receives through the umbilical cord, then we have the odds, the potential of activating the best genes and allowing the best possible human being to come out of the womb. Now, that, of course, smacks of something that, from a religious perspective, people would say, you can't play God, right? I mean, the bees can do it, but we can't do it. There's the ethics, right? Because having a super bee, also known as a queen bee, is all great and wonderful because that's nature. But what happens for a human being? Why is it possible or not possible for a human being ethically for us to do something like that? And, this isn't going to really matter for most of us. We're talking about, like, it doesn't matter to the ones of us who are already born upright and talking and walking, right? But for the unborn, for people who are coming, is it even possible to increase or enhance a child's development and give them a much better chance in the future through that kind of mechanism of just adding the right nutrition, the best, most optimal nutrition. Forget any gene editing. I'm just talking about nutrition so that the child is born developmentally as at the top of its game, right? And that I personally think from an ethics perspective, that shouldn't matter to the world. It just nutrition. Forget, I'm not talking about genetics. I'm not talking about bioengineering. I'm not talking about selecting for the best genes. I'm just talking about nutrition. If you had that capability to have that kind of an impact, to know that you could have a child who's as healthy as possible within the constraints of being born, I think that would be that's almost like, why wouldn't we do it? Why shouldn't we do it? And also, if it's strictly nutrition and strictly, the best way to allow the child to have a chance in the world, and we have the ability to do it, it almost seems like something that we should really want to do. Now, is that too crazy? You tell me. I'm just throwing these ideas out there, and I have no idea if this makes any kind of any kind of sense in your minds. Like I said, ethically, I could see this being a conundrum, and you would probably end up with situations where you have people that would rebel against this. It's just a natural state of the world, right? It's going to be, don't play God, or don't change the development course, from a fatalistic perspective of whatever human, because if you change the circumstances of the human, then maybe the negative constraints that person would have been born with without this nutrition makes them into something special, right? Like a Stephen Hawking or an Einstein or whatever it is. We don't know what triggers the optimal outcome. It could be the constraint of poor nutrition. It could be the adverse circumstances that cause a person to want to strive and be that much better. Who knows? So anyways, I don't know ethically if that makes sense, but yeah, Kitten, what you're saying is actually what I was thinking, because we all know at some point in time, someday in the future, somebody's going to say, why don't we have an artificial womb to carry the child in the optimal conditions so that the child, has the best possible chance? We already have plans on robots building robots. That's what Anthropic is pushing right now. They're not Anthropic. I can't remember their name. Yeah. I agree. We'll learn, here's the use case number one. If we ever do it once, will we see a giant hand come out of the sky and change the course of our existence because we did it? I don't know, but I do believe that, the way that we would find out is, would it come back and bite us? And this is where, this kind of goes. The worker bee has a limited lifespan, can't reproduce, works until death, dispensable. Queen bee lives 5 to 7 years, almost 60 times longer than the worker bee, lays millions of eggs, served and protected, and is irreplaceable. Otherwise, their genetics are identical. And by the way, grab another sip if you're up for it. I know I would. Oh, I just did. And the other one is, we're not bees. We know that, but the principle is pretty universal and pretty similar. Our biology responds to what we consume. And I can tell you my own personal experience. And you all have probably very similar experiences in your life. But when I was younger, I ate more foods that probably weren't that good for me. As I got a little bit older, and I also drank and I smoked and I chewed tobacco, all of the worst things you could do for yourself. Never did any drugs. I was pretty straight-laced because somebody said, just say no, Nancy Reagan back in the day. And I took it to heart, and I did. I just said no. And I also remember back when I was growing up, when I was in high school, they showed the frying pan and said, "This is your brain," or they showed the eggs and then threw the eggs into a frying pan and said, "This is your brain on drugs." And I was like, I don't know if that's exactly the metaphor, but I'll take it. But I had good influences. I had my uncle who told me he never took a drink in his entire life, and I kind of idolized my uncle, so it was a big deal. I had a lot of uncles, by the way. I had like six uncles on my mother's side and 4 uncles on my father's side, or 3 uncles on my father's side. So some of those uncles had profound influences on me as I grew up, with the things that they said to me and things like that. And I also worked for them. There were tradesmen, some of them, and did tile and carpentry. So brought me into that world early on, and it helped me to discover what my tendencies were. My Uncle Don, even just before he passed away a few years ago, he was like, "Yeah, I remember I brought you on a job, and I was I was telling you to wear the gloves before you put the wire mesh into the plaster because you're going to cut your hands, and you wouldn't do it." It's like, no matter how hard I told you, you wouldn't do it. And I was like, well, yeah, because I with the gloves on, I couldn't get the control to smush the stuff down into the plaster so that it would reinforce the mud. And I was having a problem doing that with the gloves, but and then he said I could go take a break. I went out in my car and I started working on the radio in my car because I had an old 1978 280Z. It was a fun car. I was, I think it was 18 probably. And I just bought it. I was in the military. It was a secondhand car, 10 years old when I bought it, and it needed a lot of work. So here I am in my car. I had pulled the radio out and I was tinkering with the back of it. And I totally lost track of time. And he comes walking out. I was like, "What the hell are you doing? I'm expecting you to be working, and I'm not paying you for this." I'm like, and that's when I realized that I was much more inclined to tinker with electronics and do things with computers than, lay tile and carpet and things like that. So anyways, my mental direction was slightly different. But anyways, looking at what these bees do, it does so bring us into the concept of what is the difference between when you consume food that is proper and good for you and not, and when you make habits and choices that are positive every single day, and you make good choices every single day. What is the outcome? And it's usually a longer life, better health, better attitude, better mental health, all of those things. So, but this is obviously a very discrete, specific thing related to bees and their gestation, as opposed to their overall life health. But what I was saying before is, from my perspective, I look at the health is so formulaic. It's absolutely, if you want to feel better. Oh yeah, those are fun. Those, I learned to drive on a, yeah. Oh, you had a 260. Awesome. I thought they were the best car. The 280 was the last one before the ZX. So I had the straight 6 engine in it, and I took the top half of that engine completely apart, got the header redone, and then took out the fuel injection and put in a Holley 6-pack, which was a carbureted system. So much more power. I had so much fun with that car. Yeah, we all make them. We all make bad choices around then. But I was saying, with the 1962 VW Bug, didn't they have a semi-automatic where basically it was a no clutch manual shift. You dropped off the gas and then shifted to the next gear and then hit the gas again. I don't remember if that was the case. Is that the kind you had, or did you have an automatic? It was for Wolfman. It was definitely an interesting car. I learned to drive partially how to drive a standard in a VW Bug, and then I came back and really learned how to drive it in my second 280Z. I had two of them. First one was an automatic. Sold that to my roommate who wrecked it the day that he bought it. Poor thing. And then I bought a second one, which was a 5-speed because I just really wanted a 5-speed. So, anyways, not to go too far into my car history, but you will hear me talk tons about Teslas and how I love my Tesla and things like that. But it doesn't mean that I don't love my 1978 280Z. I don't have it anymore, but if I did, I'd have restored the whole thing, taken out the gas motor and put in, I would have found a Model 3 and put the electric motors from a Model 3 in that thing. That would have been a blast. So, but anyways, yeah, we were talking on a whole bunch of different topics. I'm going to jump into the next one here. Let's see what we have. Oh, this is just something I came across. Thought it was kind of funny. The dumplings. This would be like, if you want to get a kid to eat dumplings, this would be the way to do it. The Japanese are brilliant when it comes to things like this. And it's not just Japanese. I mean, but you definitely get that kind of Japanese and Chinese, right? But it's really just whoever's creative out there. So, this one here, I'm going to read this out loud. So don't worry if you can't read the text. I just thought this was cute. This is a joke that somebody wrote and shared on X. So an engineer dies and ends up in hell. Engineers don't usually end up there, so the devil is pretty surprised. Hell, as expected, is a mess. The AC's broken, the pool is empty, the roads are falling apart, and everything's miserable. After some time, the engineer starts fixing things. The AC works again, the pool is full, roads are repaired, and suddenly hell is comfortable. Eventually, God looks down and notices people in hell are actually enjoying themselves. Confused, he calls the devil and asks what's going on. The devil replies, "That engineer you sent us has been fixing things. He's doing wonders down here." And God exclaims, "What? Engineers don't go to hell. This must have been a mistake. You have to give him back. He belongs in heaven." And the devil crosses his arms and says, "No way. We like our engineers." And God says, "If you don't give him back, I'll sue you." And the devil replies, "Yeah, good luck with that. Where are you going to find a lawyer?" I mean, seriously, that one, I couldn't not save that one to talk about because that was pretty good. I thought. So that comes to kind of the end of the bookmarked items that I have saved. I don't think I have any others here. Let me see if there are any others on the list that maybe didn't get into circulation here. That's Thursday right there. And, oh, yeah, so I did have a few coming from, citizenportal.ai. Now, I'm going to open these because some of these are, I keep saying it and I'll say it again. This is another one of those AI tools that you should be aware of. You can sign up for free. They have a $0 membership, and they also have more paid memberships if you want. This is an example of the articles. This comes as a summary every day. In email to me, I get like a whole list of different things that are happening. So this one, I only thought this was worth mentioning because I find this. So here we are. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a traditional kind of approach, right? But creating a quincentennial congressional time capsule so that 50 years or 100 years or 250 years, whatever from now, they'll have this time capsule of the 250th celebration of the United States formation, right? And I think this is, on one hand, I think it's good if they can do this without this becoming a $1 billion project. if they make it $1 billion project, I'm kind of ticked off. But I actually think it's going to be pretty cool. So the idea is they're preserving some of the things that are coming out, and just to the highlighted items that I like looking at here, just so you see how this works. They introduced the bill so that hopefully somebody can approve this, and if it gets approved, by the way, taking a sip. If they approve it, then it's something that goes down in history. It's something that future generations can look back on. And from that perspective, I really like it. I really do. Like I said, as long as it doesn't become $1 billion expenditure, I think that this would be, I don't know if any of us alive today are going to be around in 250 years. For sure not, probably. I mean, not for sure, but highly unlikely. But it would be interesting to see the reaction if we could be an aged fly on the wall in the future and see the reaction to what they put. Because this is one of the most tumultuous, crazy times of the world that are going on. And, it would be good to put in a discussion about this, saying, what's going into the time capsule. So I'm just asking a question. You probably can't see it because it was underneath my image over here. But here's the feedback. I don't know if let's see if it answers anything useful. Oh, come on. Let's see here. Got to bring it over so you can see it. And let's see what it said. I don't think it's going to say anything per se. It doesn't tell us what's going to be in there. Oh yeah, there it is. Emphasize leadership agreement on capsule content. So we don't know what they're going to put in there. I guess what'll be very interesting about that will be whether or not it's turns into something partisan or not. I hope not. I hope it truly is bipartisan and equal on both sides. But for those of you who subscribe to this service that I'm talking about over here, the Citizen Portal, they're even including, if you're a paid, I'm on a free right now, but if you're on the paid version of this, you can actually see the money that they're going to spend on these different things that they bring up. So when you go out here and explore things that are going on the federal side, and you want to understand what's going on. So let's see. This one here says it's a must watch, but I'm not sure that we're going to watch it. We're not going to watch it right now. I'm just looking for something here. This looks like something that might have funding attached to it. So when you come down here to funding, if you have the license for it, you've got to have the federal license for it. But they're actually going to show for every single bill being introduced and every single resolution that Congress is going to vote on, they're going to include the funding. So it'll make it transparent for all of us to be able to actually see where the money's going and where the money's being spent. And then, taking advantage of things like this heat map to find out what's going on out there around different topics that are going on. So there's what I'm pulling up right now. These are results related to, I don't have a search in here. So this is just all articles that are posted right now. So you can see that there are just an absolute ton of articles being posted. I'm curious about Orange County. I used to live there. So now you can see that there's a whole handful of hearings going on right now. I've actually met this guy, Frank Aurelio Yokoyama, when I was living down there. Just a handshake and a hello. But it's interesting to see what people complain about, like the pickleball nets being damaged, things like that. But yeah, this is a brilliant tool. You should be able to just hop in here and look for your own county, see what's going on, and be able to determine if there's anything important, there are definitely things that you know probably would interest you, and if you're not aware of what's going on, having a tool like this at your disposal so you can go in here, and in most of the time, in a lot of cases, they'll have video or they'll have a summary of exactly what's going on. So well worth the effort if you're curious about what's going on in your neck of the woods, your world. So definitely a quick one. So, yeah, I don't know that we won't know for sure if all of this is actual reality or not. We'll have to go back in and check. And, you know, we do need some kind of a tool, a scrubbing tool of some kind to actually say, this is not real, this is real, things like that. So having AI tools that can do that. Let me just show you, by the way, one really important thing you should do every day. This is my cybersecurity roots coming out right now. I would highly recommend having a URL checker on your link list. So I don't always have this up here, but generally speaking, I like to have this on here. And the idea is, if you see an email in your inbox and you're not sure, never click on the email links, right? You know that. But right click on a link. If you think it's okay, right click on the link, copy the link. Don't open it, just copy the link, and then come over here and paste it in and check the URL. And this system will go out and actually find out if there's a virus or if there's a compromised system that you're clicking on to protect you from getting infected with something. So if you didn't know these tools exist, all you need to type is URL checker in a search. That way you can figure out whether or not there's something to check on. It doesn't totally matter which one you used, but as you may or may not know, scroll down past the ones that are all sponsored and look for the ones down below that are like VirusTotal is a great one. That's an open source, free of charge service that a lot of people use. You can check URLs, you can upload a file, and this is to make sure you don't get infections on your computer. So that's the cybersecurity tip of the day from Dave. And I'll probably keep throwing those in here and there. And then I was going to go ahead down to a bit of a wrap up, and the wrap up today will be just that glance at the reds and the greens. And today is not a day to sell stocks. Looks like everything is down a little bit. Of course, always check your own specific chart to make sure you're aware of what's going on. It could be down, but it may not be. We'll see just how bad this gets or whatever. But you can use something like this to dig in, and what I just did there, just so you know, is I used a control and a scroll to zoom in on this to figure out where it's at. Because when the day started today, I saw that Tesla, in fact, was going up. So February 2nd, now we're at February 9th. We're not even in real time here, which tells you that you got to know the tool you're using. So you got to be careful to not just look at one of these and go, oh, okay, yeah, great. See, we're not at the end time over here. I'm pretty sure right now that Tesla's like over 430. So yeah, 418. It started the day above 430 and then went down to 418. So yeah, everything is looking ugly today, but the fact that it went up as much as it did, we dropped quite a bit from the highs, but only a couple days ago it was below 400. So it's not necessarily the worst news. It's just that you got to know now is not a good time to sell because it's on its way down. So anyways, that in mind, remember, don't take your stock advice from a dude on the internet. I'm just giving you some comments, my own personal comments and observations. Don't take it as personal advice because I'm not going to be correct most of the time. I'm just making guesses and observing more than anything and sharing my observations. So, but yeah, I do have to agree. Tesla loves being up overnight. And when stocks start trading the way Bitcoin and a lot of the meme coins trade, which is 24/7, we're going to see that that whole thing change, because we're not going to be a slave to the Wall Street anymore. We'll be making trades any old time. I've made some pretty weird decisions late at night, and maybe not being able to make a sale or a purchase at 10 o'clock at night was a good thing. So, getting access to trades in the middle of the night is probably a good thing.